The chipping yips, oh man, talk about frustrating, talk about making you nervous. There's nothing worse than being over a chip shot, feeling like you have the yips and you're gonna kind of jab up into it. Well, I got a great video today, some tips for those of you that are struggling with the yips. I found it's actually a technical problem, and then a couple of good ideas to get you right out of this and start feeling really confident with your chipping. Anybody can struggle with this. We've seen Tiger Woods, the greatest player of all time, struggle with these. So that's the first thing, is to realize if you are struggling with these, it's not because you're a bad athlete, it's not because you're a bad golfer, it's because everybody struggles with this kind of thing from time to time. So we're gonna go ahead and fix it right now. The first thing we need to look at is the technique. And usually what I find, the traditional technique that I grew up being taught, is we're gonna put this ball on the inside of your back foot, and especially if our stance is a little bit wider, that's getting really far back there. We're going to start to lean this club face forward, or have some forward shaft lean. And if you really start to get nervous and man, you start to chunk a few of them, you start to put it a little farther back than that, you start to lean the hands a little farther forward because you think, well man, if I can just get the hands in front, I can really make sure that I hit the ball first. And when that happens, you're coming down at a very negative angle of attack. If you imagine that the club swings as a pendulum, it actually flattens out a little bit more than that. What really happens is, as I swing this club, the grip end of the club actually turns up as the head releases down, and that creates what's called a flat spot. We call this impact glide. So as my handle turns up, the club is releasing down, and that creates a flat spot through the bottom of the stroke here, and that allows you to come in really level with the ground. So if I'm going ahead and hitting a few of these chip shots, you'll notice that even though I'm brushing the grass, even though I'm swinging through, my club isn't coming down and taking a divot. When I have that old school put the ball back, lean the shaft forward, feel like you pull the hands through the shot, now all of a sudden, instead of that nice flat spot at the bottom where I can hit anywhere in this zone and my club is going to glide right into the ball, now I'm coming down very steeply into the ball and I can chunk it like that and completely miss the ball altogether. The next one, I get nervous because I have a couple of those chunks and I start to jab up at it. So I put the ball back, very negative angle of attack. I'm worried that I'm going to chunk it, so at the last second I kind of flinch up with my arms, pull up my elbows, and I get that kind of yipping stroke, and the result, as we know, is not very good. So that's where that yip comes from, in most cases, from what I found. I see that time and time again with golfers, and it's like a never-ending cycle, because the more we yip, the more we struggle, the farther back we put it, the farther forward we put our hands, and the worse it gets. What I want you guys to do is two things. Number one, we're going to flatten this, we're going to get this flat spot, we're going to get this club coming in nice and level with the ground. Put the ball up in your stance a little bit. So if this is the middle of my stance, I want my feet close together, and I want that ball a little bit up in my stance. I'm still going to have my hands a little bit in front of the ball, and it's okay if the face is a little bit open. That's going to be fine. I'm adding a little bit of loft there. That's allowing the bounce of the club to be exposed to the turf. So that's the first thing. If I put it back like this, I'm chopping down. If I put it in the front of my stance, I can just let this club swing and it's going to ground out on its own. I don't have to do any kind of manipulation with my hands and arms to keep it from hitting the turf too hard. Now the second piece there is going to be, as I come through this shot, if I don't use my hips, what happens is if I stop my hips, there's nothing to keep this club moving forward rather than me pushing it forward with my hands. So if my hips are locked really, really tight like a putt, where we'd be using just our shoulders in a small stroke, if I lock those hips like I would in a putt, when I actually hit a chip shot, I'm going to have to force the club through there with my hands. I start to get a lot of wrist action, a lot of inconsistency. So as we're making this chipping stroke, we're going to go ahead and let the hips face through to the target. So it's okay to get a little bit of a pivot as you're coming on through. Imagine you're tossing a golf ball to the target. You would naturally open your hips up and let it toss right to the stick. So that's what we're going to do. That's how it's going to make it a lot simpler for you guys. We're first going to put this ball up in our stance. Okay to open the face just a little bit. We're not worried about club selection. You could use this from a 6-iron to a lob wedge. Any of this would work fine. And then from there, we're going to let the hips open up so that we can come in nice and shallow. Now, I've specifically picked a very difficult chip shot here because the green is really rolling away from me if I go too long. These are the ones you start to get nervous on because you know if you go a little too hard, you're going way over the green. It's on an upslope to the hole, so it's going to be well short if I don't hit it clean. So let's see how I do. Let's get that ball up. Let's get it nice, clean, impact glide. Let's keep those hips working toward the target as we come on through. So there we can see, stuck it nice and close. You guys work on that, and you're going to get rid of those yips once and for all. All right, guys, I got a great bonus for you. Everybody wants lag in their swing. If we watch the top pros, they're getting tons of distance by creating a big angle of lag and letting that rip. If you want to hit it far too, that's something we need to incorporate in our golf swing. So I got a great preview video that's going to walk through one of the #1 mistakes I see people making with lag. I'm going to play about 30 seconds of that video here in a second. If you want to see that entire video, go ahead and click the link that pops up on your screen if you're on a desktop device. If you're on a mobile device, a phone, a tablet, go ahead and click the iCard and you'll get instant access to that full video. Plus you're going to get 5 bonus videos from our Top Speed Golf system. See you guys in the lag video. Hi guys, and welcome back. I'm Clay Ballard, and in today's video we're going to talk about one of the absolute worst drills for creating lag. It's a very common drill that I see. And in this drill, what we're going to do is we're going to set the wrist very early to create an angle of lag, and then we're going to try to hold this throughout the swing. It's one of the worst things that you can do to build lag. I'm going to talk about the science behind why this is the case, and I'm also going to give you a great drill to help you improve your lag, all in this video. Let's go ahead and get started. If I do it this way versus holding that position, exact same thing happens when we're building the lag in the golf swing. So what we want to do is throughout the swing, I want to have a very low and wide takeaway. So I'm not going to set my wrist early at all. If you look at a lot of the top players, you look at Adam Scott, very wide takeaway, not very much wrist set at all. You look at Rory McIlroy, look at Tiger Woods. All these players are using a wide takeaway and not getting very much wrist set, so that later in the swing, as we start down, we can increase this wrist set, and we're really only going to max out this angle of lag for a split second in the downswing. Okay, so a 3-step drill here. Now, as we get started with this, I want to remind you that the fulcrum in this golf club for getting a massive amount of lag is right at the end of the golf club. This is where I want my hinge point to be.